Hello, friend. Welcome to Science for Sleep. Tonight, we're going to sit with a question that feels strangely modern and yet very old at the same time. A question that can drift through a dark room the way a soft thought does, without demanding an answer right away. Did early humans have insomnia? Not in the sense of a headline or a dramatic mystery, but in the quiet, human sense. The simple moment of being awake when you expected to be asleep. The feeling of waiting for sleep to arrive and realizing it hasn't come yet. It's easy to assume that this kind of wakefulness must be new, that it belongs to bright screens, busy schedules, and the way time is measured so closely now. But the body we live in didn't begin in the modern world. It was shaped in places with no electric lights at all, where night meant darkness, and darkness meant listening. Even in healthy sleep, the brain doesn't stay perfectly still. It moves through cycles. It rises toward the surface and sinks again, like a slow tide. And in those cycles, brief awakenings are normal. Most people have them and never remember. They happen between stages of sleep, when the body shifts, or when the brain briefly checks the world, then lets go again. In a world that was open to the night sky, those tiny awakenings may have mattered, not as a problem, but as a feature. A way of staying safe without fully giving up rest. A way of being both asleep and not entirely unreachable. So tonight, we're not trying to diagnose someone who lived 10,000 years ago. We're not trying to force a modern label onto a prehistoric life. Instead, we're going to explore what sleep was like before clocks, before electric evenings, before bedrooms with doors that close. We'll look at how humans slept when night was shared, when there was firelight instead of overhead light, when cold air signaled the body to settle, when waking in the darkness didn't automatically come with a thought like, something is wrong with me. Because one of the most important parts of insomnia, as people experience it now, is not just being awake. It's the meaning that arrives with wakefulness. The way the mind can turn a simple moment of alertness into a threat. The way time can feel loud when you're listening to it pass. And if we can understand how wakefulness used to be interpreted as neutral, expected, sometimes even ordinary, then the modern experience can start to soften at the edges. Not through advice or effort, just through perspective. If you enjoy these quiet journeys, you're welcome to subscribe. And if it feels natural, to leave a comment sharing where you're listening from tonight. It helps others find their way to this calm corner of the world, one sleepy traveler at a time. The quiet continues here, just as it is. So as we begin, we'll let the question remain gentle. We'll hold it loosely, like a warm ember in the dark. Did early humans have insomnia? And if they didn't, what changed? I'm glad you're here. The word insomnia carries a lot of weight now. It sounds clinical, final, like a verdict. But before we can ask whether early humans experienced it, we need to slow down and look at what the word actually means and what it quietly includes that often goes unnoticed. In modern medicine, insomnia is not simply sleeping less than expected. It isn't defined by a single restless night or by waking up once or twice in the dark. Insomnia is usually described as difficulty sleeping despite having the opportunity to sleep, combined with distress about that difficulty during the night or the following day. that second part matters more than it first appears. Sleep, by its nature, is not a single smooth state. It comes in layers, lighter stages, deeper stages, moments where the body shifts or the brain briefly surfaces before sinking again. These brief awakenings are built into human sleep. They happen naturally, often several times a night, even in people who describe themselves as good sleepers. Most of the time, they leave no memory behind, so being awake for a moment is not, on its own, unusual. What turns wakefulness into insomnia is often the reaction to it. The moment when alertness is interpreted as a problem. When the body is still, the room is quiet, but the mind begins to evaluate, to measure, to anticipate consequences. This is where important distinctions begin to appear. There is a difference between brief awakenings, which are part of normal sleep cycles, and segmented sleep, where the night naturally contains 2 periods of rest, separated by a quieter waking interval. There is also a difference between situational vigilance, when the body stays lightly alert because the environment calls for it, and chronic hyperarousal, when the nervous system remains on edge without a clear external reason. Insomnia usually lives in that last category. It is not just wakefulness, but wakefulness paired with tension, paired with monitoring, paired with a sense that something is supposed to be happening and isn't. In modern life, that expectation often comes from clocks, schedules, and the idea that sleep must fit neatly into a fixed window. Without those pressures, wakefulness can feel very different. A person can be awake and calm, awake and safe, awake without feeling watched by time. In that state, the body often returns to sleep on its own, not because it was forced to, but because nothing stood in the way. This is why asking whether early humans had insomnia requires care. If we simply ask whether they ever lay awake at night, the answer is almost certainly yes. Human nervous systems have always been capable of alertness. But if we ask whether that alertness was routinely experienced as distressing, threatening, or abnormal, the picture becomes less certain. Insomnia, as it is understood today, appears to be shaped not just by biology, but by context, by how wakefulness is interpreted, by what is expected to happen next. In environments where night followed day in a predictable rhythm, where light faded gradually, and where sleep was shared rather than solitary, waking up may not have carried the same meaning. It may not have triggered the same internal commentary. There was no glowing number on a wall to announce how long one had been awake. No immediate calculation of what tomorrow would demand. The body simply noticed the night. So before we travel any further back in time, it helps to hold this definition gently. Insomnia is not the absence of sleep. It is the experience of being unable to sleep when sleep is expected, combined with the strain of that experience. And that expectation, that pressure, has a history of its own, one that did not always exist. Understanding that difference allows the question itself to soften. It shifts from "why couldn't they sleep?" to something quieter, something more revealing. What did wakefulness mean to them? And when did it start to mean something else? So before we go any further, it helps to answer one part of this question clearly. Not all at once, and not in detail yet, but enough to know where we're heading. The evidence suggests that while humans have always experienced wakefulness at night, chronic insomnia, as we understand it today, became far more common only much later. To understand why, we first need to know when that shift likely occurred. So when did insomnia actually begin? Not wakefulness, not broken sleep, not occasional long nights, but insomnia as a persistent, distressing experience, the kind that lingers, repeats, and feels personal. The most careful answer is this. Insomnia has probably existed at low levels for as long as humans have existed, but it likely became widespread only relatively recently. Most evidence points to this shift occurring gradually between roughly 1700 and 1900, accelerating sharply during and after the Industrial Revolution. Before this period, the conditions required for chronic insomnia rarely existed together. Early agricultural societies, which began around 10,000 years ago, introduced seasonal labor and some scheduling, but nights were still governed by darkness. Artificial light was limited. Time was approximate. Sleep remained flexible and socially shared. Wakefulness still resolved naturally for most people. Even into the medieval period, historical records suggest that segmented sleep, sleeping in 2 phases with a period of wakefulness in between, was common and unremarkable. Nighttime waking was described, but rarely framed as a disorder. It was not treated as a failure of the body. The major shift begins much later. Between the late 17th and 19th centuries, several changes converged for the first time. Artificial lighting became brighter and more reliable. Urban populations increased. Work schedules became fixed and externally enforced. Timekeeping became precise and unavoidable. Sleeping spaces became private and solitary. Productivity became tightly linked to performance the next day, individually. None of these guaranteed insomnia. Together, they changed the meaning of night. By the early 1800s, medical writings began to describe insomnia more explicitly, not just as sleeplessness, but as a condition associated with worry, stress, and mental agitation. This is an important distinction. It marks the moment when wakefulness started being framed as something that went wrong, rather than something that simply occurred. As industrial life expanded, the cost of poor sleep increased. Being tired no longer just meant discomfort. It could mean lost wages, mistakes, or social consequences. This raised the stakes of the night. Sleep became preparation. Wakefulness became a threat. By the late 19th and early 20th centuries, insomnia was firmly established as a medical and cultural concern. It was no longer rare, and it was no longer neutral. It had become something people feared, monitored, and tried to control. This does not mean that no one experienced distressing sleeplessness before this period. Some did. But the conditions that make insomnia common and persistent were largely absent before modernization. In other words, insomnia did not suddenly appear. It accumulated and then crossed a threshold. That threshold seems to align closely with industrialization and urban modern life. When artificial light extended evenings, when time became rigid, when sleep became performance, and when wakefulness carried consequences, insomnia found a stable environment in which to persist. This is why insomnia feels both ancient and modern at the same time. The body experiencing it is ancient. The conditions sustaining it are not. Seen this way, insomnia is not best understood as a disorder of sleep itself, but as a disorder of modern life applied to ancient biology. Wakefulness has always existed, but the pressure, fear, and persistence that define insomnia likely became common only within the last 2 to 3 centuries. This perspective does not minimize the experience. It places it in context. It suggests that what many people experience at night is not a personal failure, but a predictable response to living in a world that changed faster than the nervous system could adapt. And with that understanding, the question we began with has a clearer answer. Early humans were awake at night, but chronic insomnia, as we know it today, most likely emerged alongside modern life. Wakefulness, on its own, is not a malfunction. It never has been. Long before it became something to fear or fix, it was simply one of the many states the human nervous system could move through as the night unfolded. Even now, in people who describe their sleep as deep and uninterrupted, the body does not remain fully submerged all night. Sleep moves in waves. It lightens, it deepens, it shifts. Between these shifts, the brain often surfaces briefly, checking orientation, posture, temperature, and sound before drifting again. These moments are usually so short and so neutral that they leave no trace by morning. They are part of how sleep stays flexible rather than fragile. In a natural environment, these brief awakenings served a purpose without becoming a problem. The night was not a sealed container. It was open. Air moved. Sounds changed. Light shifted slowly as the moon rose or clouds passed. The brain's ability to briefly register these changes helped maintain safety without fully breaking rest. This kind of light alertness does not carry urgency. It does not demand action. It is closer to listening than thinking. The body remains still. Breathing stays slow. The heart does not race. And because nothing insists that sleep must happen immediately, the system often settles again on its own. What matters here is not the presence of wakefulness, but the absence of struggle. Modern sleep research shows that short awakenings are common across all ages. They occur more often in the second half of the night, when sleep naturally becomes lighter. They also appear during transitions between sleep stages, when the brain reorganizes itself. None of this is pathological. It is simply how sleep is built. Trouble begins when these moments are interpreted as threats. When a person wakes and immediately evaluates the situation, how long they've been awake, how much sleep remains, what tomorrow will demand, the body receives a very different signal. The nervous system shifts from passive alertness into active monitoring. Muscles tighten slightly. Breathing becomes less fluid. The system prepares, not for rest, but for endurance. That shift can keep wakefulness in place far longer than the original awakening ever would have. Early humans did not have the same cues to trigger that response. There were no precise measurements of time during the night. No expectation that sleep must be continuous and unbroken. No cultural story that waking up meant something had gone wrong. Without those layers of meaning, wakefulness could remain what it was, a brief pause between deeper states. This distinction is subtle but important. There is a difference between being awake and being stuck awake, between noticing the night and becoming preoccupied with it. The former has always been part of human sleep. The latter appears to require additional conditions. Conditions like pressure, like anticipation, like the belief that sleep is something that can be lost permanently if it doesn't arrive on schedule. In earlier environments, the night did not ask for performance. It did not demand a specific outcome by a specific hour. If sleep came in pieces, those pieces were often enough. If it paused, the pause did not automatically escalate. The body trusted that rest would return when conditions allowed. And often, it did. This helps explain why waking during the night does not always feel the same. Sometimes it passes unnoticed. Other times, it expands. The difference is rarely the awakening itself. It is what happens afterward. Understanding this allows the question to deepen without becoming heavier. Early humans almost certainly experienced wakefulness. They almost certainly lay still at times, listening to the quiet, aware of their surroundings. But wakefulness alone does not equal insomnia. Insomnia emerges when wakefulness is paired with tension, fear, or effort. When the night becomes something to manage instead of something to move through. So as we continue, it helps to hold this gently. Being awake has always been human. The difficulty may not lie in the waking, but in what waking has come to mean. Long before humans ever questioned sleep, worried about it, or tried to manage it, sleep already existed as a biological rhythm. It did not emerge alongside language, culture, or even early tools. It is far older than any story humans later told about it. Sleep belongs to life itself. Across the animal world, cycles of activity and rest appear again and again. Mammals, birds, and many other creatures move between periods of engagement and withdrawal, alertness and stillness. These rhythms are not taught, they are built in. They arise from nervous systems that need recovery in order to function, and from bodies that cannot remain alert forever without cost. Humans are part of this lineage. The structure of human sleep was not invented when people began building shelters or gathering around fires. It was inherited. The basic pattern, drifting into deeper states, rising back toward lighter ones, briefly surfacing before sinking again, is shared widely across mammals. Researchers can trace these patterns far back in evolutionary time, long before modern humans appeared. This means that early humans arrived already equipped with a functioning sleep system. Their bodies did not need modern conditions in order to rest. They did not need silence, darkness sealed behind walls, or perfectly controlled temperatures. Sleep evolved to work in environments that were open, variable, and sometimes unpredictable. One of the most important features of this system is flexibility. Human sleep is not designed to be a single, unbroken block of unconsciousness. Instead, it moves in cycles. During the night, the brain shifts between deeper rest and lighter stages where awareness is closer to the surface. Between these stages, brief awakenings often occur. These awakenings are not mistakes. They are part of how sleep stays responsive rather than rigid. In natural environments, this mattered. Early humans slept in places where conditions could change. A sound in the distance, a shift in wind, a drop in temperature. The nervous system's ability to briefly register the world then returned to rest, allowed safety and recovery to coexist. Sleep did not require complete disconnection from the environment in order to be effective. This kind of sleep, light enough to notice, deep enough to restore, is still present in humans today. It has not been replaced. What has changed is how those moments of alertness are interpreted. For early humans, waking briefly during the night would not have stood out as unusual. There was no expectation that sleep should be perfectly continuous. There was no standard 8-hour template against which the night was measured. Without clocks or artificial lighting, the night did not feel like a countdown. Time was not something you watched pass minute by minute. Wakefulness could come and go without demanding explanation. As human brains grew larger and social structures became more complex, sleep adapted in subtle ways. But its core architecture remained stable. The cycles continued. The brief arousals remained. The ability to fall back into rest once conditions felt safe remained intact. This suggests something important. If early humans experienced wakefulness during the night, and they almost certainly did, it does not point to widespread sleep failure. It points to a system working as it was shaped to work. Complete, uninterrupted sleep would not have been advantageous in open environments. A nervous system that could never surface until morning would have been vulnerable. Instead, sleep evolved to allow small checks of the world without fully breaking rest. The body could remain mostly still, breathing slow, heart rate low, while awareness briefly brushed the surface. In that state, wakefulness was not paired with urgency. It did not require effort to resolve. The system did not panic at its own alertness. It simply waited, then let go again. This is a very different experience from modern insomnia. Insomnia is not just the presence of wakefulness. It is wakefulness that feels wrong. Wakefulness that is loaded with pressure. Wakefulness that carries the belief that something has gone off track and must be corrected immediately. That belief does not appear to be ancient. The biological system that governs sleep is remarkably durable. It survived ice ages, migrations, scarcity, and exposure. It did not depend on perfectly quiet rooms or precisely timed routines. It depended on rhythms, light and dark, effort and rest, safety and danger, that unfolded naturally. When those rhythms were intact, sleep could tolerate variation. A shorter night, a broken night, a night with pauses. None of these automatically became problems. The body trusted that rest would return when conditions allowed. So when we look back at early humans, we are not seeing fragile sleepers constantly on the edge of collapse. We are seeing bodies adapted to nights that move slowly, unpredictably, and without judgment. Sleep, in its original form, did not require perfection. It required permission to ebb and flow. And that permission may be one of the things that slowly disappeared as environments changed. The question then becomes quieter but more revealing. Not whether early humans slept without waking, but whether waking meant something different to them than it does now. Because the biology came first. The anxiety came later. A human night does not unfold as a single stretch of stillness. It has shape. It has movement. Even when the body appears quiet, the brain is not holding one position. It is traveling through a repeating pattern that gently rises and falls again and again until morning arrives. Sleep moves in cycles that last roughly an hour and a half. Within each cycle, the body drifts from lighter states into deeper ones, then gradually returns toward the surface. Breathing changes, muscles soften and then regain a little tone. Brain activity slows, then becomes slightly more active again. These shifts are subtle, but they happen reliably, night after night. At the edges of these transitions, brief awakenings often occur. They may last only a few seconds, sometimes a minute or two. Often, they are so quiet that they leave no memory behind. A small change in position, a swallow, a moment of listening. Then the body releases back into sleep without effort. These moments are not interruptions. They are seams, places where one state gives way to another. In early human environments, these seams mattered. Sleeping in open or semi-open spaces meant that conditions could change during the night. Temperature might drop. Wind could shift. An unfamiliar sound might pass through the dark. The nervous system's ability to briefly surface allowed these changes to be registered without fully abandoning rest. This kind of awakening did not demand action. It did not require planning or evaluation. The body did not leap into alarm unless something clearly warranted it. Most of the time, the signal was simple. The night is still safe. And with that, the system settled again. This pattern can be seen across many mammals. Sleep that is flexible rather than rigid supports survival. Complete unconsciousness for long, uninterrupted stretches would leave an animal vulnerable. Instead, lighter sleep near the surface allows awareness to remain loosely connected to the environment. For humans, this balance became part of the night's natural rhythm. Early humans likely experienced these cycles without naming them. There was no framework that divided sleep into stages or labeled certain moments as failures. The night unfolded gradually. Awareness rose and fell with it. What matters here is how these awakenings felt. Without pressure to be asleep by a certain time, a brief moment of alertness did not automatically escalate. There was no calculation of how much rest had already been lost. No sharp sense of falling behind. The body could remain calm even while awake, because nothing was demanding immediate sleep in return. This calm matters more than the awakening itself. Modern sleep research shows that when people wake briefly and remain relaxed, they often return to sleep quickly. When they wake and begin to monitor, evaluate, or worry, the nervous system shifts. Heart rate rises slightly. Muscles tighten. The body moves away from rest, not because sleep is broken, but because alertness has been interpreted as a problem. In earlier environments, that interpretation was far less likely to arise. The night did not present itself as a test to pass. There was no single correct way for it to unfold. A night with pauses was still a night of rest. A night with lighter sleep still counted. The body did not receive the message that it was failing. This allowed sleep cycles to continue doing what they were designed to do. Lightening, deepening, pausing, resuming. So when we imagine early humans waking during the night, it helps to picture these moments not as disruptions, but as quiet intervals within a larger flow. A brief surfacing, followed by a natural return. No effort required, no urgency added. The difference between that experience and modern insomnia is not the presence of wakefulness. It is the presence of tension layered on top of it. Early humans lived inside a rhythm that expected variation. Their nights did not need to be perfect to be restorative. The system was built to recover across imperfect conditions. And within that system, a waking moment was simply part of the night's shape, not a sign that the night had gone wrong. As humans moved through different stages of evolution, sleep did not remain fixed in one form. The core rhythm stayed the same, but the way it was supported began to change. One of the most meaningful shifts happened not in the brain, but in where the body rested. For very early hominins, sleep likely took place in trees or elevated spaces. Height offered protection from ground-dwelling predators, but it came with trade-offs. Balance mattered. Movement was limited. Sleep may have been lighter, with the body maintaining a constant awareness of position. Falling was a real risk. Over time, humans began spending more nights on the ground. This shift did not happen all at once, and it did not happen without adaptation. Sleeping lower meant greater exposure to predators, temperature changes, and environmental variability. But it also allowed the body to relax in new ways. Muscles no longer needed to maintain the same level of tension for balance. Posture could change. Deeper rest became more accessible. This transition likely influenced how sleep felt, even though the underlying structure remained familiar. Ground sleeping made it possible to build more secure sleep sites. Sheltered areas, natural windbreaks, and eventually simple structures reduced exposure. The introduction of fire added warmth and light, and perhaps most importantly, a sense of shared safety. Fire signaled presence. It extended the day gently into the evening, then allowed darkness to return without total vulnerability. With greater physical security, the nervous system could afford to let go more fully. Sleep could deepen when conditions allowed, then lighten again as the night shifted. This did not eliminate awakenings, but it may have changed their quality. A body that feels supported is less likely to surface into alarm. These changes did not remove vigilance. They redistributed it. When humans slept together, awareness could be shared. Not everyone needed to remain lightly alert at the same time. Some bodies slept more deeply, while others hovered closer to the surface. This staggering of rest allowed the group to remain responsive without forcing every individual into constant light sleep. This social buffering is important. It reduces the burden placed on any one nervous system. Sleep becomes a collective rhythm rather than a solitary task. As sleep environments became more stable, the body's relationship with rest likely softened. The nervous system learned, over generations, that it could release tension more often without consequence. Deeper sleep became more common when safety cues were strong, but lighter sleep still appeared when the environment called for it. What did not change was the need for flexibility. Even on the ground, conditions were not perfectly controlled. Weather shifted. Sounds carried differently. Animals moved. A healthy sleep system needed to remain responsive, not sealed off. Brief awakenings continued to serve as gentle checks rather than failures. This perspective matters because it shows how sleep adapted alongside human environments without losing its essential character. The system was not fragile. It responded to changes gradually, finding balance rather than breaking. Modern sleep often takes place in spaces that are physically safe but perceptually confusing. Artificial light blurs evening and night. Indoor temperature remains constant. Sound arrives in unpredictable bursts rather than natural patterns. The body receives mixed signals about when to settle and when to stay alert. Early sleep sites, by contrast, were aligned with natural cues. Darkness arrived slowly. Temperature dropped in predictable ways. The presence of others signaled safety. These cues supported the sleep system without requiring effort or interpretation. In those environments, waking during the night did not stand out as a sign of danger or dysfunction. It was simply one response among many within a flexible system. The body adjusted moment by moment, guided by the world rather than by internal pressure. Understanding this transition helps clarify the larger question. Early humans did not sleep perfectly. They did not sleep without waking, but their sleep environments allowed wakefulness to remain neutral. As the ground became home and safety became shared, sleep did not need to fight the night. It could move with it. Fire changed the night in a way nothing else had before. It did not erase darkness, but it softened it. It gathered people into small circles of warmth and light, creating a boundary between what was known and what remained unseen beyond the glow. Before fire, night arrived quickly and completely. Darkness fell as the sun disappeared, and the world became harder to read. Fire slowed that transition. It allowed the evening to stretch, not into brightness, but into something gentler. Shadows moved slowly. Light flickered rather than flooded. The body received a signal that the day was ending without being abruptly cut off. This kind of light matters. Firelight is warm and low in intensity. It does not sharply stimulate the eyes or demand attention. Compared to modern lighting, it contains very little of the blue spectrum that keeps the brain alert and suppresses sleep signals. Instead, it supports a gradual shift from activity to rest. In practical terms, this meant that early humans were exposed to bright light during the day, dim light in the evening, and near total darkness at night. This pattern aligns closely with how the human circadian system evolved to function. Light did not extend the day indefinitely. It marked its closing. Fire also changed how the night felt emotionally. Warmth and shared presence reduce uncertainty. When people gathered around a fire, the nervous system could register safety through multiple channels at once. Heat, familiar voices, predictable movement, and a stable light source all signaled that vigilance could soften. This did not eliminate alertness, but it reduced the need for constant scanning. As the fire settled and activity slowed, the body followed. Muscles relaxed, breathing eased, attention drifted inward. Sleep did not need to be forced. It could arrive gradually, layered over conversation, silence, and stillness. Importantly, fire did not create a sharp boundary between being awake and being asleep. The transition was fluid. People could sit quietly, drift, wake again, then drift once more. Wakefulness did not always lead directly to sleep, and sleep did not demand immediate disappearance from awareness. This fluidity reduced pressure. In modern environments, artificial light often creates the opposite effect. Bright, overhead lighting keeps the nervous system engaged long into the evening. Screens add movement and information that demand attention. The transition from day to night becomes abrupt rather than gradual. The body is asked to fall asleep quickly after long periods of stimulation. Firelight never asked for that. For early humans, evenings unfolded slowly. The pace of the night matched the pace of the body. There was time for the nervous system to settle before sleep was expected. This reduced the likelihood that wakefulness would feel like resistance. Fire also changed nighttime awakenings. A brief surfacing during the night did not reveal a dark, empty space. It revealed a familiar environment, a glowing ember, a quiet presence nearby. The nervous system could register continuity rather than absence. Safety was still there, even while awake. This matters because wakefulness paired with safety feels very different from wakefulness paired with isolation. When the environment supports calm alertness, the body does not escalate. It does not need to produce stress hormones to stay awake. It can remain in a low energy state, close to sleep, even while aware. So fire did not eliminate nighttime waking. It reframed it. It allowed wakefulness to remain soft, temporary, non-threatening. In that context, being awake did not automatically trigger effort or concern. It did not require problem solving. It simply existed as part of the night's rhythm. This gentle relationship with evening and night is difficult to recreate in modern settings, but it offers an important clue. Insomnia is not just about sleep itself. It is about how the transition into sleep is supported and whether wakefulness is allowed to remain quiet. Fire helped create conditions where the night felt held rather than exposed. And in those conditions, sleep did not need to be chased. As evening arrived in early human environments, the change was not only visual, it was physical. The warmth of the day slowly released its hold, and the air began to cool. This shift was steady, predictable, and felt directly on the skin. Night announced itself through temperature long before anyone tried to control it. The human body is deeply responsive to this change. Core body temperature naturally begins to lower in the evening, reaching its lowest point during the deepest part of the night. This drop supports sleep. It tells the nervous system that effort can ease and that restoration is allowed to begin. For early humans, this internal shift was mirrored by the world around them. There were no sealed rooms holding warmth in place. No systems maintaining the same temperature hour after hour. Instead, the environment moved with the body. As the air cooled, muscles softened, movement slowed, breathing deepened without instruction. Sleep did not need to be summoned. The conditions that support it were already present. This alignment matters more than it might seem. When the body and the environment are in agreement, wakefulness does not feel like resistance. A brief awakening during the night occurs against a backdrop that is already guiding the system toward rest. The body does not receive conflicting messages. There is no sense of being pulled in opposite directions. In these conditions, wakefulness remains temporary. A person might surface briefly, aware of the cool air, the stillness, the presence of others nearby. But nothing in that moment suggests urgency. Nothing signals that the body has failed to do what it was supposed to do. The night itself continues to encourage letting go. This is important when we ask whether insomnia could have existed in this context. Insomnia does not arise simply because sleep pauses. It emerges when wakefulness feels wrong, when it carries tension, effort, or the sense that something must be fixed. In an environment where temperature steadily supports rest, wakefulness does not carry that meaning. It feels like a pause, not a problem. Shared warmth also played a role. Fire provided localized heat that faded gradually. Bodies gathered close, creating pockets of warmth that shifted naturally as people moved or drifted into deeper sleep. This warmth was not constant or overpowering. It followed the rhythm of the night rather than opposing it. As the body's internal temperature reached its lowest point, the environment matched it. Deeper sleep became easier to maintain. Later, as dawn approached and temperatures slowly rose again, lighter sleep and gentle waking followed. The transition out of sleep did not arrive abruptly. It unfolded. In modern settings, this relationship is often reversed. Temperature remains fixed while the body changes. Sleep must occur in conditions that no longer mirror the body's timing. This creates friction. The nervous system must work harder to interpret signals that were once automatic. Early humans did not face this mismatch. Their nights were shaped by cooling air and shared warmth that reinforced the body's natural descent into rest. In that context, waking during the night did not escalate easily. There was no environmental cue telling the body to stay alert. Everything continued to point toward stillness. So when we imagine early humans awake for a moment in the dark, it helps to understand what that moment felt like. It was not wakefulness against the night. It was wakefulness within it. And experiences that feel supported, expected, and temporary rarely develop into chronic struggle. In environments where temperature quietly guided the body toward rest, insomnia, as a persistent, distressing condition, had little space to take hold. Night was never silent for early humans, but the sounds that filled it followed patterns the nervous system could learn. Wind moved through trees in familiar ways. Insects rose and fell in steady rhythms. Distant animals called, then passed on. Even when something unusual occurred, it stood out clearly against a background that was otherwise consistent. This consistency mattered. The human nervous system is always listening, even during sleep. It does not shut down completely. Instead, it monitors the environment at a low level, ready to respond if something truly changes. When the surrounding sounds are predictable, this monitoring remains calm. The brain does not need to stay near the surface. Sleep can deepen without becoming fragile. For early humans, nighttime sounds carried meaning without urgency. The difference between ordinary background noise and a potential threat was usually clear. Most sounds belonged to the night itself. They did not require evaluation or interpretation. They could be registered, then released. This allowed brief awakenings to pass quietly. A person might surface for a moment, listening without tension. Breathing would remain slow. Muscles would stay relaxed. If nothing had changed, the nervous system could let go again. Wakefulness did not need to expand. It had no reason to. This kind of soundscape does not train the nervous system to remain alert without cause. That distinction is important when we consider insomnia. Insomnia is closely tied to unpredictability. When the brain cannot learn what is safe to ignore, it stays on guard. Wakefulness becomes sharper, more effortful, harder to leave. Early sound environments rarely created that condition. Sound flowed rather than intruded. There were no sudden mechanical bursts, no artificial tones appearing without context. The night had a rhythm, and the brain learned it over time. This learning reduced vigilance rather than increasing it. Social presence reinforced this effect. Sleeping near others added layers of familiar sound. Soft breathing, small movements, occasional murmurs. These were not disruptive. They were grounding. They signaled continuity. The group remained intact. Safety was shared. A brief awakening in this setting did not feel isolating. It did not reveal absence or emptiness. Instead, it revealed a living environment that had not changed. That sense of continuity made it easier for the nervous system to remain calm, even while awake. In modern sleep environments, this relationship is often reversed. Many people sleep alone, in spaces designed to be silent. In that silence, even small noises can feel sharp. Mechanical sounds arrive suddenly and without meaning. The brain must decide again and again whether to respond. This repeated evaluation keeps the nervous system closer to the surface. Over time, wakefulness in these conditions can begin to feel tense. The body learns that night is unpredictable. Alertness lingers. Sleep becomes lighter and more easily disrupted, not because the system is broken, but because it has adapted to an environment that offers fewer stable cues. Early humans did not face this problem. Their nights were filled with sound that made sense. Familiar rhythms reduced the need for constant monitoring. Wakefulness could remain brief because nothing demanded that it continue. This helps clarify why insomnia, as a chronic condition, is unlikely to have been common in early environments. When sound supports predictability and safety, wakefulness does not easily turn into struggle. It stays close to rest. So when early humans lay awake for a moment, listening to the night, that listening did not train the body to stay alert. It reassured it. And wakefulness that reassures does not become insomnia. For most of human history, sleep was not a solitary activity. Night was shared. Bodies rested near one another, close enough for warmth, sound, and presence to be felt without effort. This simple fact shaped how wakefulness was experienced, often in ways that are easy to overlook. When sleep is shared, responsibility is distributed. No single nervous system carries the full burden of staying alert. Awareness naturally staggers across the group. Some bodies sink more deeply into rest, while others remain closer to the surface. Then the balance shifts again. This creates a kind of quiet rotation, where safety is maintained without demanding constant vigilance from everyone at once. In this arrangement, waking up during the night does not feel like a failure. It feels expected. A person who surfaces briefly is not alone with that experience. The environment still holds signs of life. Familiar breathing, subtle movement, the knowledge, even without thought, that others remain nearby. These cues matter. They reduce the sense that something must be done. Wakefulness does not automatically trigger effort. This is one of the most important differences between early sleep and modern insomnia. Insomnia depends on pressure. It thrives when wakefulness feels personal and consequential. When the night becomes a private test that must be passed alone. In shared sleeping environments, that pressure had little opportunity to form. Wakefulness did not belong to the individual in the same way. It was part of the group's rhythm. There was also no expectation of constant sleep. The night did not demand a single, uninterrupted block of rest. If sleep came in pieces, those pieces were enough. No one was measuring them. No one was tracking what had been lost. Without measurement, there was no deficit to worry about. This matters because insomnia is not just about the body's ability to sleep. It is about the meaning assigned to wakefulness. When wakefulness is framed as a problem, the nervous system responds with tension. When it is framed as normal and temporary, the system remains calm. In early human environments, the framing was clear. Wakefulness at night did not mean something had gone wrong. It meant the night was unfolding as expected. Shared sleep also reduced isolation, which plays a significant role in how wakefulness feels. Being awake alone in the dark can amplify alertness. It removes external cues of safety and continuity. In contrast, shared environments provide reassurance without requiring interaction. The body can remain aware without becoming activated. This social buffering helped keep nighttime alertness from escalating. Wakefulness could pass without turning into effort or concern. Sleep could return without being chased. At this point in human history, insomnia, as a persistent, distressing condition, had little room to take hold. The necessary ingredients were missing. There was no strict timing to meet, no expectation of perfection, no solitary pressure to perform rest correctly. Wakefulness existed, but it was not monitored. It was not feared. It was not interpreted as failure. This does not mean early humans always slept well. Nights could still be short. Sleep could still be broken. But the experience of being awake was fundamentally different. It did not carry the same weight. And that difference matters, because what changes next is not the body's capacity for sleep, but the environment that begins to reshape how wakefulness is understood. Human nervous systems evolved to respond quickly to danger. This capacity is not a flaw. It is one of the reasons humans survived long enough to ask questions about sleep at all. When something truly threatening appears, the body shifts instantly. Muscles tighten. Breathing becomes sharper. Awareness narrows. Sleep gives way to alertness without hesitation. In early human environments, this response was tied closely to what was happening in the moment. Danger was usually concrete. A sudden sound nearby. Movement where none had been before. A storm. An unfamiliar animal. A disruption that clearly stood out against the night. The nervous system responded because it needed to, and because it could identify why. Just as importantly, it could also recognize when that danger had passed. Once the source of threat was gone, the body did not remain suspended in readiness. Vigilance softened, muscles released, breathing slowed. Sleep returned when conditions allowed. This ability to complete a stress response is essential. It prevents alertness from lingering longer than necessary. This pattern is very different from insomnia. Insomnia does not arise from brief periods of alertness. It arises when vigilance continues without a clear endpoint. When the nervous system remains activated even though there is no immediate external reason to stay alert. This state is often described as chronic hyperarousal, and it depends on something early environments rarely provided: unresolved threat. For early humans, threats tended to resolve. When something demanded attention, it either escalated into action or faded away. There was little middle ground. The nervous system was not asked to stay alert just in case for hours at a time. Night did not come with a list of abstract consequences waiting in the morning. Wakefulness did not need to stretch itself thin across imagined futures. This distinction matters deeply when we ask whether early humans experienced insomnia. In order for insomnia to develop, the body must learn to associate night with unfinished vigilance. It must learn that being awake does not lead back to rest, but to effort, to monitoring, to waiting. Over time, this learning makes wakefulness feel tense rather than neutral. Early humans were less likely to enter that loop. When danger occurred, it made sense. When it ended, it ended. There was no expectation that alertness needed to be maintained after safety returned. The night itself did not encourage ongoing watchfulness once the environment had settled. This allowed each episode of wakefulness to remain contained. It did not spill over into the next night. It did not create anticipation. The body did not begin to fear being awake because wakefulness consistently resolved. Modern insomnia often involves the opposite experience. Wakefulness becomes self-sustaining. The body remains alert not because something is happening, but because it has learned that sleep may not return easily. The nervous system stays near the surface, scanning for resolution that never quite arrives. This kind of vigilance is exhausting, but it is also understandable. It emerges in environments where stressors are ongoing, abstract, and difficult to complete. Responsibilities extend beyond the night. Consequences are imagined rather than immediate. The nervous system receives the signal to prepare, but never receives the signal to stand down. Early humans did not live inside that condition. Their nights did not ask for long-term anticipation. If sleep was interrupted, it was interrupted by something real. When that something passed, the body followed. Alertness had a beginning, a middle, and an end. This completion is key. Insomnia thrives when vigilance has no clear conclusion. When wakefulness becomes a state the body does not know how to leave. Early environments rarely produce this scenario. The cues for danger were external and obvious. The cues for safety were equally clear. As a result, wakefulness did not accumulate across nights as fear. It did not transform into an expectation. It remained a temporary state rather than a lasting problem. This helps clarify why insomnia, as a persistent and distressing experience, is unlikely to have been widespread in early human populations. The nervous system was allowed to finish what it started. Alertness rose when needed and fell when it was no longer required. Sleep did not have to be fought for, and when vigilance has a way to end, wakefulness does not become insomnia. Stress has always existed. Early humans were not free from difficulty, danger, or uncertainty. But the shape of stress has changed over time, and that change matters deeply when we talk about sleep. For most of human history, stress was immediate and physical. Hunger meant the body needed food. Cold meant the body needed warmth. Danger meant the body needed to respond. These stressors were concrete. They had clear causes and, importantly, clear endings. When food was found, hunger eased. When shelter was reached, cold softened. When danger passed, vigilance released. The nervous system evolved inside this pattern. It learned how to activate quickly and how to stand down when the situation resolved. Stress rose and fell in step with the environment. This rhythm protected sleep. Even when nights were short or broken, the body did not remain suspended in preparation. Once the immediate demand ended, the system could return to rest. Wakefulness did not stretch itself across hours of imagined future consequences. It stayed anchored to the present moment. Modern stress works differently. Today, many stressors are abstract rather than physical. They do not arrive with a clear signal, and they do not leave with a clear resolution. Financial concerns, social pressure, work expectations, and long-term uncertainty extend beyond the present moment. They exist as ideas as much as experiences. The nervous system responds to these abstract stressors as if they were immediate threats. It prepares the body for action. It sharpens attention. It resists letting go. But unlike physical danger, abstract stress rarely resolves fully. There is no single moment when it ends. This creates a problem for sleep. When the body remains in a state of readiness without closure, alertness lingers. Night arrives, but the nervous system does not receive a clear signal that it is safe to power down. Wakefulness persists not because something is happening, but because something might happen later. Early humans rarely lived in this state. Their stressors did not follow them into the future in the same way. When the night came, it did not carry a list of obligations waiting at dawn. There was no need to rehearse tomorrow in order to survive tonight. The body could remain present. This difference shapes how wakefulness feels. In early environments, waking at night did not automatically connect to worry about what came next. There was no expectation that being awake would lead to failure or loss. Wakefulness could remain neutral because it did not threaten future outcomes. In modern environments, wakefulness often feels loaded. Being awake at night can trigger thoughts about performance, productivity, and consequence. The body interprets these thoughts as signals to remain alert. Sleep becomes harder to reach, not because the system is broken, but because it has been given conflicting instructions. This is a key turning point in the story of insomnia. Insomnia does not simply require wakefulness. It requires wakefulness paired with unresolved stress. When stress has no clear endpoint, the nervous system does not know when to release vigilance. Night becomes a space where activation continues without direction. Early humans experienced stress, but their stress completed itself. The body moved through effort and rest in sequence. This sequencing protected sleep, even when conditions were imperfect. As environments changed, stress lost that structure. It became something carried internally rather than encountered externally. This shift placed new demands on a nervous system built for resolution, not for indefinite anticipation. When night arrived in early human life, it often represented a pause from effort. Activity slowed, decision-making faded. The world narrowed to what was immediately present. Sleep did not have to compete with tomorrow. That separation has gradually eroded. Modern nights often remain mentally crowded. The body is asked to rest, while the nervous system continues to prepare. This tension creates the conditions where wakefulness becomes effortful and persistent. Understanding this shift helps answer the question more clearly. Early humans were not immune to stress, but their stress did not commonly transform night into a battleground. Without unresolved activation carrying forward, insomnia had little opportunity to develop as a chronic condition. What changed was not the capacity to sleep, but the nature of what followed people into the dark. For most of human history, time was experienced rather than tracked. The day unfolded through light, hunger, movement, and fatigue. Night arrived when darkness fell and ended when light returned. There were rhythms, but there were no numbers attached to them. No minutes passing, no hours lost. This absence of measurement mattered more than it might seem. Without precise timekeeping, wakefulness at night could not easily become a problem. A person might wake, listen, rest, and drift again without knowing how long the moment lasted. There was no reference point to judge success or failure. The night simply continued. Sleep did not have to meet a quota. Early humans did not know whether they had slept 6 hours or 8. They did not count awakenings. They did not calculate what would be required the next day. As a result, wakefulness remained unmeasured, and what is unmeasured is difficult to interpret as deficient. This protected the nervous system. Insomnia depends heavily on time awareness. It requires the ability to notice how long one has been awake and to compare that duration to an expectation. Without clocks, this comparison could not occur. Wakefulness had no numerical weight. It could not accumulate into concern. As human societies changed, this relationship to time began to shift. With the development of agriculture, settlement, and eventually more complex social structures, time became more regular and more important. Certain activities needed to happen at certain moments. Days were divided more deliberately. Over time, methods of tracking time became more precise. Eventually, night itself became measurable. When night is measured, wakefulness changes character. Being awake for a while becomes being awake for too long. The experience shifts from neutral observation to evaluation. The body is no longer simply awake. It is late. This evaluation introduces pressure. The nervous system begins to associate wakefulness with consequence. Thoughts arise about how much sleep is still possible, what tomorrow will require, and whether rest is slipping away. These thoughts are not neutral. They signal the body to stay alert. Sleep becomes something that must be achieved within a shrinking window. Early humans did not experience this countdown. If they woke during the night, there was no deadline attached. Morning would come when it came. There was no sense that sleep needed to be recovered before a specific moment. This allowed wakefulness to remain soft. It did not escalate into urgency. The introduction of measured time quietly altered the meaning of night. As societies continued to evolve, this shift deepened. Industrialization, in particular, tightened the connection between time and consequence. Work hours became fixed. Productivity became linked to punctuality. The cost of being tired increased. Night was no longer just a pause between days. It became preparation time. In this context, wakefulness took on new significance. Being awake at night could now threaten performance, income, or social standing. The nervous system responded accordingly. Alertness intensified. Sleep became something to monitor rather than something to enter. This is a crucial moment in the story of insomnia. Insomnia requires not just wakefulness, but awareness of wakefulness over time. It needs clocks, expectations, and comparison. It needs the idea that sleep can be insufficient and that insufficiency matters. Early humans lacked this framework. Their nights unfolded without measurement, without deadlines, and without evaluation. Wakefulness did not become a personal failing because there was no standard to fail against. As time became counted, wakefulness became counted too. This change did not alter the biology of sleep. The same nervous system persisted. What changed was the interpretation layered onto natural variations in rest. Understanding this shift helps clarify when insomnia began to emerge. Not at the moment humans first woke during the night, but at the moment wakefulness became something to track, judge, and worry about. When night turned into numbers, sleep began to carry pressure. And pressure is one of the conditions insomnia needs in order to exist. For most of human history, darkness was not optional. Night arrived fully, and it stayed. When the sun set, the world dimmed in a way that could not be negotiated or postponed. Firelight softened the dark, but it did not replace it. Shadows remained. Vision narrowed. The body understood, without instruction, that the day had ended. This mattered deeply for sleep. Darkness is one of the strongest signals the nervous system has. As light fades, the body begins to shift internally. Hormonal patterns change. Alertness eases. The drive to move and act gives way to stillness. This transition is not forced. It unfolds automatically when darkness is allowed to do its work. For early humans, this process was reliable. Firelight did not disrupt it in the way modern light does. Flames flickered. Their brightness was limited. Their color leaned warm rather than sharp. Fire created pockets of visibility, not an artificial extension of daytime. When the fire dimmed or burned low, darkness returned naturally. This created a clear boundary. The night belonged to rest, reflection, and low activity. Even when people were awake, they were awake within the night. Their nervous systems were not being told contradictory things. Darkness continued to signal that the body could remain calm, even if consciousness briefly surfaced. This is another reason insomnia struggled to take root in early environments. Insomnia is strongly influenced by light, not just by brightness, but by timing. When light appears at night, especially strong or consistent light, it sends the nervous system a message that conflicts with the body's internal rhythm. Alertness increases. The sense of day lingers. Sleep becomes harder to access. Early humans did not face this conflict. Their nights did not suddenly become bright. Darkness was steady and dependable. The body did not have to interpret mixed signals. When wakefulness occurred, it happened in a context that still supported rest. As human societies evolved, this relationship began to change. Artificial lighting gradually grew stronger and more reliable. Candles and oil lamps extended visibility further into the night. Later, gaslighting and electricity transformed darkness entirely. Night no longer required surrender. Activity could continue as if the sun had not set. This shift altered the meaning of night. When darkness loses its authority, the boundary between day and night blurs. The body is asked to remain alert later than it expects. Internal rhythms fall out of sync with external cues. Sleep becomes something that must be chosen rather than something that arrives. This creates fertile ground for insomnia. Wakefulness at night begins to feel less like a natural fluctuation and more like resistance. The nervous system receives signals to stay active while the body is trying to slow down. This mismatch increases tension. Alertness lingers. Sleep retreats. Early humans did not experience night this way. Darkness still governed behavior. Even when people remained awake, their surroundings reinforced calm. Light did not shout at the nervous system. It whispered, then faded. The night maintained its identity. This distinction matters because insomnia often emerges where boundaries dissolve. When night no longer feels separate from day, the body struggles to shift states cleanly. Wakefulness becomes effortful. Sleep becomes fragile. The presence of artificial light also changes how wakefulness is interpreted. Being awake in a brightly lit environment feels different from being awake in darkness. Light encourages activity, thought, and engagement. Darkness encourages inward attention and rest. When wakefulness happens under bright light, it is more likely to escalate. Early humans who woke at night did so in low light or darkness. Their environment did not invite stimulation. There was nothing to scroll through, nothing to engage with intensely. Wakefulness remained quiet. This quiet allowed it to pass. As darkness became optional, nights became busier. The nervous system learned that alertness could continue indefinitely. Sleep lost its environmental support. The body still wanted rest, but the world no longer insisted on it. This shift did not create insomnia overnight, but it removed one of the strongest protections against it. When darkness stops guiding behavior, sleep must rely more heavily on effort and intention. And when sleep becomes effortful, wakefulness becomes more noticeable, more frustrating, more difficult to release. Understanding this change helps clarify when insomnia began to emerge. Not when humans first woke at night, but when night itself stopped insisting on rest. When darkness lost its authority, the conditions that once softened wakefulness began to disappear. And without those conditions, insomnia found room to grow. For most of human history, sleep was a shared experience. People rested in groups, often close enough to feel warmth, hear breathing, and sense movement. This closeness was not only practical, it shaped how the nervous system understood night, safety, and wakefulness. Sleeping near others created a constant background of reassurance. Even without conscious thought, the body registered that it was not alone. This reduced the need for vigilance. Awareness could soften without disappearing completely. The night felt held by the group rather than endured by the individual. This social context mattered when wakefulness occurred. A person who woke briefly during the night did not emerge into isolation. There were signs of continuity all around. Familiar sounds, subtle shifts, the quiet knowledge that others were present and resting too. These cues signaled that nothing urgent was required. Wakefulness could remain calm and temporary. As human societies changed, this pattern began to shift. Settled living, private dwellings, and eventually individual bedrooms altered how people slept. Over time, sleeping alone became normal, even expected. This change happened gradually, but its effects on nighttime experience were significant. Sleeping alone removes many of the cues that once softened wakefulness. When a person wakes in a solitary room, there are fewer signals of safety and continuity. The environment can feel empty. Silence can feel absolute. The nervous system, designed to rely on social and environmental context, has less information to work with. In this setting, wakefulness feels different. Without shared presence, awareness turns inward. Thoughts become louder. Small sensations become more noticeable. The body has fewer external anchors to reassure it that the night is unfolding as expected. Alertness can increase simply because there is nothing else to attend to. This shift plays an important role in the development of insomnia. Insomnia often involves a sense of being alone with wakefulness. The experience becomes private, internal, and difficult to share. Night turns into a personal trial rather than a shared rhythm. The nervous system must carry the full burden of safety, interpretation, and timing by itself. Early humans rarely faced this burden. When sleep was shared, wakefulness did not belong solely to the individual. It was distributed across the group. Someone else might stir. Another person might shift. These movements reassured the body that vigilance was not required from everyone at once. Sleeping alone changes that equation. The body no longer receives external confirmation that it is safe to rest. It must infer safety from absence rather than presence. This inference requires effort. Over time, effort at night becomes familiar. Wakefulness becomes easier to sustain. Isolation also changes how wakefulness is interpreted. When someone wakes alone, there is a tendency to monitor the experience more closely. Questions arise. Why am I awake? How long has it been? Will I fall back asleep? These questions increase cognitive activity. The nervous system responds by staying alert. In shared environments, these questions are less likely to arise. Wakefulness is not immediately framed as a problem. It is just a moment within a living context. Modern sleeping arrangements often combine isolation with other factors that increase alertness. Artificial light, time awareness, and ongoing stress follow people into private spaces. Without social buffering, the nervous system must manage all of this alone. This creates a subtle but powerful change in how night feels. Early humans experienced wakefulness as part of a collective rhythm. Modern individuals often experience it as a solitary interruption. This difference does not reflect weakness or malfunction. It reflects a mismatch between ancient nervous systems and newer sleeping conditions. Understanding this shift helps clarify another piece of the insomnia puzzle. Insomnia did not emerge simply because people began sleeping alone. But sleeping alone removed a layer of protection. It increased the likelihood that wakefulness would feel tense, meaningful, and difficult to leave. When the night stopped being shared, wakefulness became more personal. And when wakefulness becomes personal, it is more likely to turn into struggle. This change did not alter the basic mechanics of sleep. The body still knows how to rest. What changed was the context in which rest was expected to happen. As sleep became increasingly solitary, the nervous system lost many of the quiet signals that once kept wakefulness gentle. In their absence, alertness lingered longer. Thoughts filled the space. Sleep became something to reach for rather than something supported by the world around it. This shift, combined with others already explored, marks another step toward the modern experience of insomnia. For early humans, sleep was not something to achieve. It was not evaluated, optimized, or improved. It arrived as a consequence of living. When the day ended, effort faded. When effort faded, rest followed in whatever form it took. Sleep was an outcome, not an assignment. This distinction matters more than it appears. Sleep becomes fragile when it is treated as a task. Tasks come with expectations. Expectations create pressure. Pressure activates the nervous system, and an activated nervous system does not rest easily. Early humans did not approach sleep this way. There was no concept of sleeping well or poorly. There was no standard night to compare against another. If rest came in fragments, those fragments were accepted. If sleep arrived late or ended early, the body adjusted naturally. Fatigue was part of life, not a personal failure. As societies changed, this relationship to sleep began to shift. With structured schedules, fixed work hours, and increasing demands on performance, sleep took on a new role. It became preparation. A good night's sleep was expected to produce a productive day. A poor night's sleep was expected to carry consequences. This expectation quietly transformed sleep into a responsibility. Once sleep is framed as something that must deliver a result, the nervous system begins to monitor it. Questions arise before sleep even begins. Will I get enough rest? Will tomorrow suffer if I don't? These questions are not neutral. They signal importance, and importance keeps the system alert. Early humans rarely entered the night with this kind of anticipation. Night did not ask them to perform well the next day in a narrow, measured sense. Survival required effort, but it did not require optimization. The body could be tired without being judged. Rest could be incomplete without being catastrophic. When sleep becomes a task, wakefulness changes. A brief awakening is no longer just a moment. It becomes a threat to the task's success. The mind begins to calculate what has been lost. The body responds to that calculation by increasing alertness. Sleep retreats further, creating a feedback loop. This loop is central to insomnia. Insomnia often begins not with sleeplessness, but with effort. Effort to fall asleep. Effort to stay asleep. Effort to control a process that was never designed to be controlled. The more effort is applied, the more elusive sleep becomes. Early environments discouraged this dynamic. There was little to gain from forcing sleep. There was no guarantee that extra rest would change the outcome of the next day. The body rested when it could and functioned when it needed to. This flexibility protected sleep from becoming a performance. As modern life evolved, sleep became increasingly instrumental. It was framed as fuel, as recovery, as optimization. These ideas are not wrong, but they come with unintended consequences. When sleep is tied too closely to outcomes, the nervous system treats it as high stakes. High stakes activate vigilance. The body begins to watch itself. Sensations are monitored. Time is tracked. Every moment of wakefulness is noticed and evaluated. This self-monitoring is incompatible with rest. Sleep requires letting go, not checking in. Early humans did not bring this mindset into the night. They did not lie awake assessing the quality of their rest. They did not judge the night while still inside it. Wakefulness passed without commentary. Sleep returned without strategy. This difference helps explain why insomnia feels so modern. The biology of sleep has not changed. The nervous system still responds to effort and pressure the same way it always has. What has changed is the context in which sleep occurs. It now carries expectation, consequence, and responsibility. When sleep becomes something you are supposed to do correctly, the night becomes a test. And tests are not restful environments. Understanding this shift brings the question into clearer focus. Early humans may have been awake at night, but they were not trying to sleep in the way many people do now. They were not performing rest. They were allowing it. Insomnia did not emerge when humans first woke during the night. It emerged when sleep stopped being a natural consequence of living and became a task to complete. When rest became work, the nervous system lost one of its greatest protections. And without that protection, wakefulness began to linger, tighten, and resist release. Wakefulness itself is not a problem. It never has been. The human nervous system is designed to move between states, drifting into sleep and surfacing again as needed. For most of human history, these shifts carried little emotional weight. Being awake at night was simply part of the rhythm of living. What changed was not the experience of wakefulness, but its interpretation. Interpretation shapes physiology. The meaning assigned to a state determines how the nervous system responds to it. When wakefulness is interpreted as neutral, the body remains calm. When it is interpreted as threatening or consequential, alertness increases. Early humans lived in a context where wakefulness had limited meaning. Waking at night did not imply that something was wrong. It did not signal future failure. It did not demand explanation. The body could surface briefly, then return to rest without internal commentary. Over time, this neutrality eroded. As sleep became measured, scheduled, optimized, and evaluated, wakefulness began to carry significance. Being awake at night started to mean something about the person experiencing it. It became a sign of stress, of imbalance, of inability to function correctly. This shift is central to the development of insomnia. Insomnia is not simply the absence of sleep. It is the presence of interpretation. It arises when wakefulness triggers concern, monitoring, and effort. The nervous system responds to this concern as if it were a threat. Alertness increases. Sleep becomes harder to reach. Early humans were largely protected from this dynamic. Without strict expectations around sleep, there was little reason to interpret wakefulness negatively. Nighttime alertness remained a passing state rather than a problem to solve. Modern environments encourage interpretation at every step. A person who wakes at night may immediately wonder how long they have been awake, how much sleep they have lost, and what the consequences will be the next day. These thoughts are not harmless. They activate the nervous system. The body shifts into a state of readiness rather than rest. This activation reinforces wakefulness. Over time, the body learns to associate night with effort. Bed becomes a place where problems are noticed rather than released. Sleep turns into something that must be achieved despite obstacles. This learning does not require intention. It happens automatically through repetition. Each night of concerned wakefulness strengthens the association between being in bed and being alert. Early humans rarely formed this association. Their nights did not repeatedly end in effortful wakefulness. Even when sleep was broken, it resolved. Morning arrived, the cycle completed. There was no lingering sense of failure carried forward. This completion prevented wakefulness from accumulating emotional charge. In modern life, wakefulness often carries unfinished business. Stress extends beyond the night. Expectations follow the person into bed. Interpretation begins before sleep even starts. The nervous system remains engaged because it has learned that night matters. This is not a flaw in the individual. It reflects a nervous system doing what it has always done, responding to meaning. When wakefulness means nothing, the system relaxes. When wakefulness means something important, the system stays alert. Understanding this distinction clarifies when insomnia truly began. Insomnia did not emerge when humans developed lighter sleep or nighttime awakenings. It emerged when wakefulness acquired meaning, when being awake at night started to feel consequential rather than incidental. This change did not happen all at once. It accumulated through cultural shifts, environmental changes, and new expectations around performance and productivity. As wakefulness became something to interpret, it also became something to fear. Not because it was dangerous in itself, but because it threatened outcomes valued by society. Early humans did not fear wakefulness in this way. Their nights allowed for presence without judgment, awareness without commentary, rest without performance. These conditions made insomnia unlikely, even when sleep was imperfect. When wakefulness learned to mean something more than itself, the balance shifted. Sleep did not disappear, but it became harder to reach. Not because the body forgot how, but because the nervous system was no longer allowed to let wakefulness pass without response. This is one of the final pieces in understanding how insomnia became part of human experience. Not as a biological failure, but as a learned relationship between wakefulness and meaning. Insomnia did not appear all at once. It did not enter human life as a sudden disorder or a single historical event. Instead, it formed slowly, through accumulation. Small changes layered on top of one another, each subtle on its own, but powerful together. This matters because it helps explain why insomnia can feel both deeply personal and strangely widespread at the same time. Each shift we've explored so far, changes in light, timekeeping, stress, sleeping arrangements, and expectations, did not break sleep on its own. Early humans could adapt to one or two changes without losing their ability to rest. The nervous system is flexible. It adjusts. But flexibility has limits. When multiple changes begin to stack, the experience of night changes qualitatively. Wakefulness no longer occurs in a context that consistently supports release. Instead, it occurs in environments that quietly encourage alertness. Over time, This alters how the body responds to being awake at night. The accumulation begins gently. Artificial light extends the evening. Time becomes measurable. Sleep becomes preparation. Stress stretches beyond the present moment. Sleeping becomes solitary. Wakefulness begins to carry meaning. None of these shifts feel dramatic on their own. Most are framed as improvements, conveniences, or progress. But together, they change the night. The nervous system, shaped in environments where wakefulness resolved naturally, now encounters wakefulness that does not resolve as easily. There is no single cue telling the body it is safe to let go. Darkness no longer insists. Social presence no longer reassures. Time awareness continues to tick forward. In this setting, wakefulness lingers. The body does not immediately escalate into panic or distress. At first, it simply stays alert a little longer than it used to. Sleep arrives later, or it becomes lighter, or it fragments more easily. These changes may go unnoticed at first, but repetition matters. When wakefulness occurs night after night without clear resolution, the nervous system begins to learn from it. It starts to expect effort. It prepares earlier. It stays closer to the surface. This learning is not conscious. It is a form of adaptation. This is how insomnia takes shape. Not as a single sleepless night, but as a gradual shift in baseline. Wakefulness becomes familiar. Alertness becomes default. Sleep becomes less automatic. Early humans rarely experienced this kind of accumulation. Even when nights were difficult, they were buffered by environments that allowed the nervous system to complete its cycles. Morning arrived without consequence. The next night began without anticipation. Wakefulness did not carry over as expectation. Modern environments encourage carryover. Stress follows people into bed. Time awareness continues through the night. Light signals activity. Silence amplifies thought. Isolation removes reassurance. The nervous system never receives a clear, all-clear signal. Alertness fades more slowly. This slow fade is important. Insomnia is often misunderstood as an inability to sleep, but more accurately, it is an inability to stop preparing. The nervous system remains in a state of readiness because it has learned that night does not reliably resolve into rest. This learning does not reflect weakness or malfunction. It reflects adaptation to conditions that have quietly shifted. The accumulation also explains why insomnia can persist even when someone tries to change individual factors. Turning off lights, going to bed earlier, or adjusting routines may help, but they do not immediately undo years of learned alertness. The nervous system needs time to relearn safety. Early humans did not require this relearning. Their nights consistently reinforced release. Wakefulness ended. Vigilance stood down. The cycle completed itself without effort. This repetition trained the nervous system to trust the night. In contrast, modern nights often end with incomplete resolution. Sleep may arrive eventually, but it arrives after effort, after monitoring, after concern. This conditions the body to expect struggle next time. This is the quiet accumulation that gives insomnia its staying power. Understanding this helps reframe the question of when insomnia began. It did not begin when humans first woke at night. It began when enough changes accumulated to alter the nervous system's relationship with wakefulness. Once the night stopped reliably supporting release, wakefulness gained weight. And when wakefulness gains weight, it stops being something the body can simply pass through. This accumulation is not a failure of modern humans. It is the result of ancient systems adapting to layered changes over time. Insomnia, in this sense, is not an error. It is a signal, not of something broken, but of a mismatch that grew slowly, quietly, and without intention. One of the most striking differences between early human sleep and modern insomnia is not how often people wake, but how personally wakefulness is experienced. Today, being awake at night often feels like a reflection of the self. It can feel like a flaw, a weakness, or a failure to do something that should be easy. This personalization of wakefulness is a relatively new development. For early humans, wakefulness was not a verdict. Being awake at night did not say anything about character, health, or capability. It did not suggest that something was wrong with the person experiencing it. Wakefulness was simply a state the body moved through, shaped by environment and circumstance. It carried no identity. Modern wakefulness often does. When someone lies awake now, the experience is rarely neutral. Thoughts arise quickly. Why am I awake? What does this say about me? Why can't I do what others seem to do so easily? These questions attach meaning to the experience, and meaning changes how the nervous system responds. The body does not distinguish between external threat and internal evaluation. When wakefulness becomes personal, the nervous system reacts as if something important is at stake. Alertness increases, muscles subtly tense, breathing becomes shallower. The very effort to understand or correct the situation reinforces the state that caused concern in the first place. Early humans were largely protected from this loop. Their wakefulness was not evaluated against social norms or internal standards. There was no expectation that sleep should look a certain way. No comparison to others. No cultural narrative framing wakefulness as dysfunction. Without these narratives, wakefulness remained lightweight. As societies evolved, narratives around sleep began to form. Sleep became associated with health, productivity, discipline, and self-control. Good sleep was praised. Poor sleep was problematized. Over time, these ideas filtered into personal identity. Sleeping well became something people believed they should be able to do. This belief quietly changed the night. When wakefulness occurs in a context where sleep is expected, it feels like deviation. The nervous system responds to deviation with correction. Correction requires alertness. Sleep recedes further. This is not a conscious choice. It is a learned response. Over repeated nights, the body begins to associate being awake with self-monitoring. Attention turns inward. The night becomes a space for evaluation rather than rest. Wakefulness deepens because it has something to attend to. Early humans did not bring this self-evaluative lens into the night. Their identities were not tied to sleep performance. Being awake did not threaten how they understood themselves. As a result, wakefulness could remain a simple state rather than a reflection of self-worth. This shift toward personalization helps explain why insomnia can feel isolating. When wakefulness is interpreted as a personal failure, it becomes difficult to share. The experience feels private and internal, even though it is common. This isolation intensifies alertness. The nervous system senses separation and stays vigilant. In early environments, wakefulness was rarely isolating. Even when awake alone, the experience did not imply disconnection from the group or from shared rhythms. Morning would arrive regardless. Life would continue. There was no need to judge the night while still inside it. Modern wakefulness often arrives with judgment immediately. The body learns that night is a time when it is assessed. This assessment keeps the system engaged. Sleep becomes conditional rather than automatic. Understanding this shift clarifies another part of the insomnia story. Insomnia is not just about environment or stress. It is also about identity. It emerges when wakefulness becomes something that reflects on who a person is, rather than simply what their body is doing in that moment. This personalization did not exist for most of human history. It formed gradually alongside cultural narratives about optimization, self-management, and control. When wakefulness began to feel personal, it gained emotional weight. And when it gained weight, it stopped passing through the night as easily. Early humans were awake at night, but they were not awake about themselves. That distinction matters, because wakefulness that carries no self-judgment can soften and fade. Wakefulness that feels like a verdict tends to stay. One of the most reliable ways to understand whether insomnia is ancient or modern is to look sideways rather than backward. Instead of relying only on historical records, we can observe how sleep looks today in societies that still live without many features of modern life. These comparisons act like mirrors, reflecting what changes when certain cues are removed, and what remains when human biology stays the same. Across many non-industrial societies, people still wake during the night. This is important to say clearly. They do not sleep perfectly. Their nights are not uninterrupted or uniform. But reports of chronic insomnia, especially insomnia described as distressing, persistent, and feared, appear far less common. This difference is not because these groups are biologically different. Human sleep architecture is remarkably consistent across populations. The same cycles, the same tendency toward lighter sleep, the same capacity for wakefulness. What differs is the context in which wakefulness occurs. In communities without electricity, night still behaves like night. Darkness arrives fully. Light does not extend the day indefinitely. When people wake, they wake in low light or darkness, which continues to signal rest rather than activity. The nervous system does not receive mixed instructions. Time is also experienced differently. Without precise clocks governing the night, wakefulness is not measured minute by minute. A person may be awake, but they are not counting how long it has been. There is no shrinking window of remaining sleep to monitor. As a result, wakefulness carries less urgency. Social context plays a role as well. In many non-industrial settings, sleep is still shared or communal. Even when individuals sleep in separate spaces, the sense of proximity remains. Nighttime sounds are familiar. Presence is felt. Wakefulness does not unfold in isolation. This matters because isolation amplifies alertness. When people wake alone in environments designed for silence, the nervous system has fewer cues to reassure it. In contrast, shared or familiar environments provide continuity. wakefulness remains softer because the world has not disappeared. Stress, too, takes a different form. Non-industrial societies face hardship, uncertainty, and danger. But many stressors are immediate rather than abstract. When effort ends, rest follows. Night does not carry the same load of anticipation about productivity, schedules, or long-term performance. The nervous system is allowed to complete its stress responses. Because of this, wakefulness does not easily turn into fear. When people in these societies wake at night, they are less likely to interpret it as a problem. There is no dominant narrative telling them that being awake is harmful or that tomorrow will be ruined. Without that narrative, the body does not escalate alertness unnecessarily. Modern societies often show the opposite pattern. Insomnia complaints increase alongside artificial light, rigid schedules, urban noise, solitary sleeping, and performance pressure. The more these factors cluster, the more common insomnia becomes. This pattern appears across different cultures and regions, suggesting that the cause is not cultural belief alone, but shared environmental conditions. This comparison helps clarify something important. When insomnia is less common in non-industrial settings, it is not because wakefulness has disappeared. It is because wakefulness has not been framed as a threat. The nervous system is allowed to experience night without monitoring itself. These observations support the idea that insomnia is not an inevitable feature of human sleep. It arises under specific conditions. Conditions that cluster more tightly in modern life than at any other point in history. This does not mean that non-industrial sleep is ideal or free from difficulty. Nights can still be short. Sleep can still be interrupted. But difficulty does not automatically turn into distress. Wakefulness does not become a personal problem to solve. Seen through this lens, insomnia begins to look less like a universal disorder and more like a contextual response. When environments encourage rest, wakefulness remains light. When environments encourage vigilance, wakefulness becomes heavy. The same nervous system behaves differently depending on what it is asked to respond to. These cross-cultural mirrors help confirm what history suggests. Humans have always been capable of waking at night. What has changed is how often wakefulness becomes chronic, feared, and difficult to leave. That change tracks closely with modern environments rather than with human biology itself. By looking at how sleep still unfolds in places where modern cues are absent or softened, we gain a clearer view of what insomnia is and what it is not. So we can return, quietly, to the question that brought us here. Did early humans have insomnia? They were awake at night, yes. They listened, they shifted, they rested in pieces. But wakefulness did not mean what it often means now. It did not carry the same weight. It did not arrive with a sense of failure or urgency. What changed was not the human body. What changed was the world built around it. As light extended the day, as time became exact, as sleep became something to measure and manage, wakefulness slowly took on a different meaning. It became something to correct, something to fear, something that felt personal. Seen this way, insomnia is not a mystery of broken biology. It is a response, a very old nervous system trying to rest inside a very new environment. That understanding does not make the experience disappear. but it can soften how it is held. If you are awake tonight, it does not mean something has gone wrong. It means your body is doing what it has always been capable of doing, noticing, listening, waiting. Sleep has never required force. It has never required perfection. It has always returned when pressure eases and meaning loosens. The night is not an opponent. It is not a test. It is simply a space the body moves through in its own time. Wherever you are listening from, nothing is being asked of you now. There is no outcome to achieve, no state you need to reach. The night continues as it always has. Understanding remains, and rest, when it comes, will come quietly. Thank you for being here.